What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
And my good buddy, Kyle Strohschein.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. We're going to talk about some Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which I'm excited about because I wanted to do a full review of this game, but I was like, there's a lot here, there's a lot to it, and I wanted to be able to talk about it with somebody who also played it, and not just, and so that we could like jump back and forth on some of our big
and
things.
that person would not have
sadly,
been me.
this time it was not you, because there's a lot of stuff to this one that I really
wanted. It will never
wanted.
be me when it comes to Star Wars.
That's all right, but see, that's why we have friends that we can ask on the show.
You're always going to need
glean some knowledge.
A spare human to talk about Star Wars.
But we'll talk about more Star Wars goodness in a little bit here on Team Chat Podcast, a video game show where we talk about games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. New episodes come out on Tuesdays, 9 a.m. Central Time, and you can listen to those on podcast services around the World Wide Web, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and others. You can also watch a video version of each episode on YouTube channel, so youtube.com/Team Chat Podcast. Find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can join our Discord server. Links for all that are in the description below. And finally, if you're really loving and enjoying what we're creating for you each and every week, you can head over to patreon.com/Team Chat Podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. And in return, we'll give you cool perks like getting the episodes early before their general Tuesday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server and some other good bits of goodness, like I'm trying to avoid saying tidbits because I know you don't like it.
I do appreciate that you didn't say that.
But also for a $5 tier, you get early access for 2 weeks, early access to another show that we do called Team Chit Chat, where we talk about stuff outside of games, and you can get our opinions and thoughts on a lot of
some of those topics are inflammatory, by the way.
Yes,
if you're here for the tea, that's where the tea lives.
Exactly. Not the hot takes of video game tea, but other.
Yeah, all the other tea.
All the other tea. It's over there.
The rest of the world's tea.
But if you don't want to do that, it's no big deal at all. We totally understand. We appreciate all of everyone who is here and listening. And other ways that you can help us out is by writing a review, telling your friends, interacting with us online, all good stuff, and helps make the show bigger and better as well. And we are greatly appreciative to all of our patrons and our listeners. All right, well, before we get into our main topic, let's do our moment with Mogan.
I will blaze through it today so that you can do all the Star Wars talk you want. So just in case you missed it, as of February 17th, Corruption 2029 came out for PC. Out today, as of February 18th, we have Hunt Showdown on PlayStation 4. As of February 20th, Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition is coming out for the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Weird, but whatever. Anyways, that was February 20th. On February 21st, we have Tony Stewart's Sprint Car Racing on PC. And on February 25th, we have Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. That is the DLC that's coming to Xbox One. So it already came out on PS4, but now it's on Xbox. Closing out the end of the month, we have Mega Man Zero/ZX Legacy Collection for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Also on the 25th, Samurai Showdown for the Switch. On the 25th as well, 2 Point Hospital for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. And then closing out the very end of the month, on February 27th, we have Overpass for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. On February 28th, we have Blood Roots for PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. And I'm noticing on the end of this list that none of them took advantage of the leap year.
To release on the 29th.
Which I'm actually a little mad about. Like, I'm looking ahead and I'm like, oh, this is a real bummer.
Saturday? Friday?
We should that day should be the day that we do the purge. I think I feel like for planning purposes, that would be the right choice. Anyways, also on February 28th, we have Metro Redo, or Redux, depending on how you want to say it, for Nintendo Switch. Also on the 28th, One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. That's a lie. Everybody knows One Punch Man at this point. For PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. And finally, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Oh, that's a lot of Roman numerals. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 14 for PlayStation 4 and PC on February 28th. And that's everything coming out through the rest of the month.
Very nice. So, one thing that we want to, well, really quick before we jump into this next bit of news, let's introduce Kyle for everybody. Right. So I work with Kyle and I've known Kyle now for a few years. We actually worked together for a brief period at an old job together. Then we started working together at a newer job together. And, but yeah, so tell us about yourself, some what video games and stuff you like to play. What's your favorite game of all time? You know, stuff like that.
Sure. My name's Kyle. Let's see. I've been playing games for a long time. I think my favorite of all time is probably something in the Zelda series. It was Ocarina of Time, but Breath of the Wild That's probably taking the cake.
Okay, that I'm not one of those Ocarina of Time stands, so that's not has and never has been one of my favorite ones. So okay, I'll take it. Acceptable.
I started with actually like the Nintendo version. We have this cool little coaster of right here.
You gave him my coaster.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it. I just moved them all into a different area.
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
Anyways.
It's one of the few games I can remember playing growing up. Like every time I play a Zelda game, I'd play it through to the end, unlike so many other games. And actually, I've been on a hiatus from like games, pretty much anything other than like FIFA or some sort of first-person shooter for like years. And Breath of the Wild came out. I was like, oh, that's right. I love these kinds of games. I've been right back in it ever since. So it was like a good reintroduction.
Very nice.
Yeah.
How many hours do you think you've put in it?
Oh, I don't know. The Switch will tell me. I know it's over 100.
Nice.
Have
And
you beaten it yet?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
My girlfriend actually stole the Switch from me, and I had to wait till she finished the game until I could finish.
That makes good sense.
She wanted my help, and she'd ask me for input. Be like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'll
gotta
see
find out for
I'll see how it all ends. You got too far ahead. We're not playing this together anymore. Yeah.
Nice. And then also, you guys have a bit of crossover in that Kyle's also a huge fan of Monster Hunter World.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that a little bit. I am a hunting horn only main.
I've heard.
I only play the one instrument, and I gather that the other items are actually like weapons or whatever. I'm just there to jam. So I don't know how other people are playing the game. That's how I play it.
Everyone else is going to be very happy that you're there.
That's what
how
they
hunting
tell
horns
me,
go.
but I feel like we lose a lot, and it's mostly because I've died 3 times in a row, and I'm like, my bad. I was just here to have a good time.
Thanks for the revives, everybody.
There's no revives
Oh,
in
I
Monster
forget.
Hunter
I
World.
forgot.
Yeah.
I only played it like a few hours. My playtime into it is not near
Oh,
what you guys have
man.
put into it.
We got to
because-
get you back in.
I know.
I was
I
very
know.
excited when you said you're playing. I thought we'd rope you in.
I'm sorry. And then
You get
I'm
hooked.
still at the last place I was when I talked about it with both of you. I'm right before the first
shameful.
Zora Magdaros fight. That's where I'm at. So I'm very
God.
early.
So
I'm
early in the game.
I'm so
Yeah,
early.
you're so far back there.
Hasn't even opened up yet.
Ugh,
No, I
Zora
know.
Magdaros.
I need to get into it more because I really liked it, and I honestly liked it a whole lot more than I thought I was going to. But just I don't know. That just never the Monster Hunter type of game never hadn't appealed to me that much, or not been one that I really played that much, and so I was kind of
Which
like,
is
oh, we'll see.
wild because you love RPGs.
And I love open world games. Just for whatever reason, I hadn't played that style. Maybe it was Horizon Zero Dawn that did it. That made it click for me. And I was like, you're fighting all these
so.
huge monsters, mechs and stuff like that. Maybe translate it over. But I need to play it more because I've heard both of you talk about it so much. I'm just like, God damn it, this sounds awesome.
What do you play on Monster Hunter?
Charge Blade, main one, longsword.
Longsword users. So the longsword, for those of you that don't know, if you are like a teammate and you're within vicinity of the longsword, they will just knock you all
They're
over
just
the
windmilling
place.
all
You
over
get
the
tripped
place.
constantly.
Yeah, you're like, I would also like to hit the monster, please. And they're like, no, this is the me show.
Yeah.
Longsword users suck.
I resisted for a long time for the exact reason, but their moves are so flashy. It's like, oh, I get it. I get why you don't want to stop swinging the sword. It looks so cool.
Oh, so lame.
Across the battlefield. So another game though that all three of us have played and really enjoyed, and seems like it's going to be making a resurgence. So wanted to talk about this real quick since we're all three here. This
That's a
actually worked
big
out
scene.
really
Yeah.
well, news wise. That EA officially announced, there were rumors of it back in November, but EA officially announced that they are redesigning and going to redeploy, I guess, Anthem in some form or fashion in the coming months, which is I personally very excited about.
So the closest two things that I can, in theory, compare this sort of announcement to are the way Final Fantasy XIV, I believe, entirely rebranded themselves. I think that's the game that had like the meteor striking the fictional world, and they were like, yep, everything's dead. We're starting over entirely because the launch was so disastrous. The other one would, of course, be No Man's Sky, but No Man's Sky took many, many years, and it was and still is a fairly indie studio making that game, and they needed a lot more time to be able to develop it. I don't really know what to make of this announcement because, on the one hand, I'm happy to see that EA hasn't entirely given up on Anthem because I do feel like it had so much potential, and I would love to see that game done the right way. On the other hand, the player base is tiny at this point. I mean, teeny tiny. So I'm interested to see how many old players would bother coming back and how many new players would still jump on, given its checkered past.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've said it before, and I was talking about it actually in our Discord a lot when this news broke and everything. I'm super excited about it because I loved the game itself, like the mechanics of the game. It just felt like it was a little too empty. What did you think about it, Kyle? Like, kind of the same thing, or?
I was super pumped. I was actually really surprised. I did my year-end review for PlayStation. It recaps all your hours, and it was Monster Hunter with the obscene amount of hours.
Yeah, so many.
And then either second or third ended up being Anthem with like 50, 60 something.
Yeah,
which really surprised me.
Anthem was my number 2 also, which I was like, wait, what? Like,
because I didn't feel like I played it that much. I felt like I got to the end game and like burned through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But then I guess when I thought about it, I put a lot of time into it. Like, it was a really engaging game. Just the moment-to-moment combat system was enough to just like keep me playing, even if I wasn't playing for very much. So to hear that they could actually put in like that combat system that felt so good into something totally new that could be really cool, I'm all aboard for it.
So hopefully that comes and becomes an actual reality, and hopefully it's successful, because I mean it sucks anytime a game comes out and doesn't perform well, and then sometimes that with smaller companies that can result in studio closures and everything. So we never want to see a game fail, but but Anthem especially, I'm like, I really didn't want it to fail because I love flying around in those javelins. Those were amazing.
My short list, like my ultimate wish list of what I think could make Anthem instantly better. And I forgot to mention this on the Discord. Shorter load times.
Oh yeah.
Those
I'm sure they'll fix that.
load screens were killing me. I was like, wow, I could be taking like online classes during this time. So if they could shorten the load times, that would be phenomenal. Maybe, with PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox on the horizon, that will be more feasible. But also, if your game isn't functional until the next generation of consoles comes out, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So the load times, just more variety of enemies, I would love to see just across the board. Just tap some more things in there. I don't care what it is. Give me more stuff to shoot.
Well, because that was my thing, is that, it sends you out on, you have like your daily challenges and everything, which would be like kill 50 scars or whatever. And you'd be running around out there and you'd find like the 2 places where scars actually were. And there'd only be 10 to 15 there. And then you'd have to, I think the number you had to kill in a day was more than that. It was a substantial number, but still, it was like you go and fly, and you would just rotate between those 3 areas as waiting for them to respawn and come back. And so it just felt like, cool, all right, this brings me no joy because I'm just running all over them and everything. So yeah, giving us some more variety or greater number of enemies even, but not to the point where it's like bullet sponging and you're just like throwing bullets everywhere. But like, because like that was even the problem with like the Titans that you would run across.
Yeah,
you would run across them. And you could take them on yourself because they were powerful, but super easy to get around. But you did just empty every bit of ammunition you had into them, which was very annoying.
Yeah, I feel like they had a more variety in their monsters, and then gave you more loot to tackle specific types of monsters. Because that's like, I love the grind for like constantly getting loot and min-maxing and all of that. That's like Diablo, Monster Hunter, whatever the game is,
right?
That system's very like, I'll sit there all day and do it. So if they could like fix the loot system, give you reasons to use those kind of like specific loadouts, different tweaks to the loot system and stuff, that'd go a long way making me play a bunch more.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
And of course, my third wish list item.
The jetpacks?
No. You fool.
I'm sorry.
Romanceables.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only thing I care about.
True. It's a Bioware game that doesn't have romanceables.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let me romance people.
Yep. Owen?
Huh?
Owen?
Maybe not Owen. I actually I really like that like bookish woman from who are the people that are like the scholar class?
Oh.
I don't remember her name.
I don't remember her name either. I just remember
the one that you meet who's like your friend with Halleck and Faye? Was her name Faye?
No, not Faye.
No.
I know who you're talking about, but not her. She's like the one that you go to for new missions of like the scholar type.
Damn it, I'm forgetting.
And she's very forgettable. But obviously. But in my heart, I'm like, made an impression. You could make more of an impression if this were a romancing system. So maybe someday BioWare will come through for me.
That's funny. That's awesome. But yeah, so maybe we wait with bated breath to see what Anthem will become in the next few months. But I fingers crossed. I really want it to be great. I hope it pulls a No Man's Sky and becomes something great, because that's what I wanted it to be from the beginning. So hopefully it does that. All right, but now it's time to talk about some Star Wars.
I'll see you guys later. I'm
But
out
no,
of
we
here.
need you because we need your hard-hitting questions and analysis to break through the fog when we sing too many praises. We need you to be like, but wait, you said something.
It's just going to be petty insults.
That's fine. We need those too. We can't get too big ahead. But anyway, so yeah, Jedi Fallen Order came out last year in November. It was developed by Respawn Entertainment, published by EA. It was created. The director of it was Stig Asmussen, and then Vince Zampella obviously is the studio head of Respawn, and so behind it all. I was obviously super excited for this game because it wasn't a Battlefront 2. You know, it was going to be and then because Battlefront 2 was the first single player Star Wars campaign we had seen in a while, and it was not great. Did you play that one?
Which one?
Battlefront 2? The newest iteration?
Not Battlefront 2.
Okay.
The first one, yeah.
I actually haven't even finished it because it finished the campaign because it started and it was just like, here's a bad person at the beginning, your character Iden Versio, and then literally 2 missions later, it felt like she'd already changed sides and was rebellion. I was like, okay, we've seen this. Like, I want something more out of this. And for me, Jedi Fallen Order gave that to me. What did it do for you?
Oh, the story was great. I mean, like, okay, I heard there's a Star Wars game, and it's going to be kind of Dark Souls-y.
Yeah.
And it's going to have, like, that Metroid-style map and stuff. It's like, all right, I'm sold. I will play this game. It has good combat, and it's decent story. Like, that's my basis for playing anything.
Yeah.
And, man, it, like, blew my expectations away. The combat felt great, but the story was really cool. Like, I guess I'm not, like, the hugest Star Wars fan. I watched it with my dad when I was really young, and so I have like fond memories of Star Wars. But I've never gone like deep into fandom or anything.
You don't like read the books on the side?
I don't.
Okay,
I have
I'll do
like
that. I'll fill in the knowledge in the
I have like a
background.
base knowledge, but this story sucked me right in.
Oh,
from
yeah.
the beginning.
Because I remember we talked about it, like, how fast did you beat it? Because I remember I was talking about it, and I was like, wait, you're already done?
I couldn't stop. I played it like straight through in like 3 days.
Yeah, it took me a couple months, but I mean, that's just how I play these games anyway. But still, it was, you said that, I was like, oh my God, it must be really great then just like if it hooked you that quick and everything. Because yeah, I agree. Whereas I fell into it just because like, obviously, I've said before, if it's a Star Wars game, it's going to be high up there anyway for me, and it's going to be hard for me to see its flaws necessarily. But this game, I felt it had some issues, which we can get into a little bit later. But overall, yeah, fantastic story. Combat for a Star Wars game especially was very new and fresh, and it had a good length to it, and it just was just all around not only video game but just a Star Wars story in general.
Yeah,
and I just was in love with it.
So, first question.
Yes.
Other than the box art and your guy,
Cal Kestis.
Cal, sure. Mr. Kestis?
Sure. You can call him that.
I don't know anything about the story of this game. So give me like a brief synopsis. Why are you this guy? What's he doing? I know he has a tiny robot because of your action figure.
Yep. BD1.
Yeah. Yeah, BD1.
Oh, yeah, he's up there on the shelf back there. Yeah.
He's top 3 droids for me.
He's
Top
cool.
3.
In anything. He's the best.
Wow.
He's so good.
He's more like a puppy.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, because how you'll get him these upgrade. There's these workbenches throughout the game where you can upgrade him and you can get like upgrades for your lightsaber and stuff. And every time you give him one, he like dances around and like because he's on his like 2 little
That's
legs and he like
cute.
dances around and kind of like look.
Yeah,
he literally
doesn't
looks
have
like a
arms,
dog.
does
yeah,
he?
no.
Oh my God.
So yeah, he's just kind of like bobbing along. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm here. And
But
it's
also,
like, he's
quit
great.
dodging the
He's great.
question. What's
Okay.
the story about?
So it takes place or not very soon. It's a few years after Order 66 and the events of the Revenge of the Sith. Order
I was about
66
to say, what
is
the hell are all of those things?
Order 66 is the command that the Emperor gave, or at the time, Chancellor Palpatine sent out that made the clone army kill the Jedi.
Okay.
And so like how his big bamboozle that wiped out the Jedi out of the galaxy. And so since that time, Cal has been hiding out on this far planet, just kind of trying to stay hidden.
Wait, so Cal was already a Jedi?
Yes, he was a Jedi in training,
okay.
which you
Important to
see
know.
through some really cool flashbacks throughout the game because
Yeah.
that's actually how you unlock your different abilities. It's okay. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so he's hiding out. He eventually is discovered and realizes that this greater mission is at hand for him to take.
Discovered by a talent agency,
He used the
perhaps?
Force to save a friend,
There it is.
and it got him noticed.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the Inquisitors, which are a form of dark Jedi who are part of the Empire, came to the planet he was hiding out on and basically were able to root him out, and he had to go into hiding or be killed.
Is Dark Jedi the same as Sith?
Yes.
Okay.
Dark Jedi, Sith.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was more than one word. I'm already learning.
I will say I'm a little nervous about because this is a Star Wars episode. It might call out the people who know it better than me, and I'm trying to say the right things.
I will ask the dumb questions because I don't know any of this.
Oh man, but anyway, so you are found out by the Inquisitors, and you have to then flee the planet, and then through the course of that event, I don't remember exactly, but you meet another person, Seer, and she basically ropes you in on this greater mission that she is on to find this ancient Jedi holocron that contains the information or the location of Force-sensitive children throughout the galaxy, and that's basically what you then
baby map,
basically.
Okay,
and then you discover that the Inquisitors are hunting that because if they can find it, they can either go kill those kids or train them to be Sith and
kill
Jedi.
the children.
So
I'm on
which
board
is
with
what
this.
happens in Revenge of the Sith. We can't be having the slaughter of the younglings. too
Oh,
much.
okay. I guess that's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. But anyway, so that's the overall plot of this. So you travel to various planets in the galaxy on the hunt for this holocron.
Is that a map? It is a map.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the basic overall plot of it. But what I was saying is, in terms of the flashbacks, is there are these flashbacks throughout the game where you actually meet Cal's master, Joro Topal, I believe is his name, something like that.
Yeah.
And you get these, and you learn. That's where you learn these skills that you can to upgrade your skills and everything. But it's really cool though how they do it, because it's not like you necessarily find an object in the game that gives you, or you spend an ability point to get a core skill. And by core skill, I mean like the force push, force pull, and things like that. It like is in a cutscene or like in a
they're all
moment in the
flashbacks
game.
and something triggers it, and it's a really smooth way to integrate he had lost these abilities, and you remember, he goes through the training he had to do to get it in the first place
When he was a young
a
child
really
and
young
stuff.
kid.
Does he have memory loss, or is this just repressed memory?
I think it's more repressed, and he just hasn't been able to use his Jedi abilities because the Sith have been such a if you're found out, you're basically killed. So it's so he's definitely been repressing him. But like what you said, when he's found out at the beginning, when he uses his ability, a friend of his is about to fall off of this Star Destroyer or some ship.
Yeah, they're fixing
cutting
something.
Yeah, and he's gonna fall into a sarlacc or some crazy shit like that. And he uses pull is it push is the first one you get. I can't remember. I think it's push.
I don't remember what the first one is.
But anyway, he uses that to as his friend is falling, push something under him to catch him, kind of thing. And his friend's always like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." But
I thought you were gonna say his friend immediately tells on him.
No,
and he's like,
slight spoiler. Which, just for everyone, we're talking about beginning game stuff, but if we will talk a little bit about some story and end game spoilers later on, we will let you know
about the end.
Got to talk about the end. So we'll let you know before that happens. We'll give you warning. You can skip ahead if you want. But this is a light beginning game spoiler. His friend actually is obviously very thankful that he saved his life. And when the Inquisitors come and try to figure out who used the Jedi above him, his friend actually sacrifices himself so that Cal can escape and live.
Whoa.
So
so he saved that guy for nothing because he died anyways.
2 days later.
Good to know.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So, but so what about it? Other than the combat, what about the combat specifically really pulled you into this game?
So don't think I've played another Star Wars game. I haven't played too many. I played Knights of the Old Republic. I played some on
Which
DS,
is an RPG, which has different combat style entirely.
Yeah.
Can I mention something real quick?
Yeah.
I watched a playthrough of Knights of the Old Republic recently.
That's right. You told me you
I
did.
did, and I finished it. I didn't catch all of it, but I now have a much better understanding of that game, and it's so much different than what I thought it was going to be based on what you described to me. I was like, cool.
Well,
Star
honestly,
Wars.
now because you've done
Fighting.
that, you probably have a better idea of the game than even I do, because I haven't finished that one yet.
I was
I'm
just like, this is
maybe not even halfway through it.
really weird. And I feel like if I had played it even back then, And also now, I probably would have hated it. But I get the appeal, I guess.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about KOTOR is that I like Murderbot 5000, who I think has a real name that is like HK something something.
I must not have gotten to that part of the game yet, so
He's one of the people that you can recruit onto your team.
Okay.
But he's like an assassin droid.
Okay, then
and
I
he's
definitely not
like,
got that far
shall
yet."
we murder everyone in this building, master? And I'm like, yeah. But I guess if you're playing the game and you're trying to be good, you tell him not to murder.
That makes sense.
What's the point of that? I would have been evil for sure. But anyways, continue.
So, yeah, Knights of the Old Republic, and I played, I think it was the first Battlefront. And I've never played a Star Wars game where, like, the use of the Force felt to scale.
Yeah.
Like, within actual combat, and how, like, I would envision it kind of being used in the movies and stuff. Because, I mean, Battlefield, you just run around, like, you turn into Darth Vader for a little bit, and you can run around and kill some people, and then you're dead, and
Right.
you start over again. And this one, it's actually, like, a key part to the combat. And when you get to the boss fights, you can use specific abilities during specific, like, animations that they do to interrupt them and then open up space for counterattacks. And, like, I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, so it's no surprise that that kind of combat's what I'm really into. And you have to, like, plan your attacks, wait for the openings, learn.
Planning. Wait for openings.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
We're playing Monster Hunter very differently.
You have to learn the attack patterns. You get used to the animations, and you figure out what you can do to try to counter them. I went through so many of those fights so many times.
Because what difficulty level did you play it on?
Not the hardest, but the one just below.
Okay, that's what I did too. I think
Yeah.
that's Jedi Master, which I really like. That this one, it legitimately shows you. It has like a sliding bar that like shows you the differences the difficulty levels will make. But it's purely with the combat because it it increases or decreases the parry window that you have to parry attacks. And when you're playing on Jedi Master, it's like
It's very
very small. And when you're the hardest, it's like infinitesimally small.
Yikes.
Like, good God. And if you can't lock down how to parry, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. I mean, like, they will just wreck you. If you don't get one of them right, then all of a sudden you get hit and they swarm.
Yeah.
Stormtroopers,
that was
spiders,
the hardest
whatever it
part.
was.
Yeah, when you're like fighting the, like groups and everything, they would swarm so much, which I couldn't tell if that's something I'm like, is this how it's supposed to be? Like if that was, because I did notice that there were a couple parts, especially the scout troopers who were the melee Imperial units.
Yeah.
They like 3 or 4 of them around you and you're just like, what is happening? I'm just dead.
Yeah, you had to be kind of aggressive with them because if you waited too long, they would just start unleashing combos on you that you couldn't like
Yeah.
break up or get in the middle of. But yeah, it's the super specific timing and combat and stuff. And then like the way the Force played and all that. And then like, okay, Zelda, great game. You can do things like freeze bombs in midair. They're going to throw something at you. You can make it stop before they throw it. And then it makes them all crazy and stuff. You can do very similar things, which is so much fun. Like, if they throw a grenade at you, you can stop it in the air and then chuck it back at them.
That sounds very satisfying.
So good.
And my favorite, which is very hard to do, was freezing a blaster bolt, then pulling the stormtrooper into it. I could only do that like a couple times.
Well, that
Yeah.
sounds like a real dick move.
It was hard, but it was awesome.
It's like, nah, you're going to kill yourself now. Freeze it.
Oh my
Get them in front of their
gosh.
own shot.
I liked I liked
satisfying.
the rocket troopers just like immediately just like pushing the rocket back into them because they just explode. It was awesome. But yeah, and I liked that a lot too, and I liked that it was very, like you said, Dark Soulsy in the fact that like you would have these areas and you had to find specific save points, and once you saved those points and rested to restore your health and like health packs, that reset and all the dead enemies like respawned and came back. Which makes it, if you're trying to do hard exploration and everything and really and you can find more health packs throughout the maps and everything, but still, if you haven't done that, it makes exploration difficult because you're like, man, I just got through a really hard part. Oh, I got to do that again to go to this other part. Or fortunately, it wasn't necessarily with all the bosses. Like once you beat a boss, it was done.
They're pretty done.
But still, like even playing on Jedi Master, you really couldn't underestimate any enemy because they could get ahead of you and like just pull a good move, pull a good combo, and if you didn't do the right thing to block it, you'd be killed.
The stupid goat things. I don't remember what they were called.
Those sucked.
But I hated those goats.
Yeah, they were on like the second planet, I think, and oh my god, they were
Yep.
terrible because they would basically, the first one you see, it like comes around this corner and you're like, oh, it's a goat. Then it immediately like does an unblockable charge at you. The enemies turn red or glow red when they were about to do an unblockable attack. And it just charged you and immediately like one hit takes 75% of your life. And you're just like, this is great. And then it takes what? It's so early in the game. It takes they're a solid fight.
And you're fighting them like the first one specifically was on like a cliff side too. So you have like a very limited amount of space to actually work with. So like take a step to the left, you fall down to your death. Take a step to the right, you hit a wall, and the guy charges you, and you die.
Right.
It was that part was challenging.
That part was hard, and too because it was like you could that point. I think you only had like the freeze ability, like to slow enemies down. But even if you froze them while they were doing an unblockable, and then attacked them, that unfreezes them when you'd attack them. But they'd still be doing the unblockable, so it was like really hard to like figure out the best way to like freeze it, move out of the way, then attack it, so it wouldn't just immediately still bulldoze you over. Those things sucked really hard. But that was the other thing I liked about it too, because the combat wasn't purely against Imperial soldiers.
Yeah.
You had to fight the various wildlife of these planets, which especially for me, having read a lot of the Star Wars books and everything, you always heard about how like dangerous the underworld of Kashyyyk was. So that was really cool that you got to explore that and face some of these fearsome creatures that, you only have like heard legend of. And then they come face to face with you on Kashyyyk and you're just like, what? No. And of course I hate spiders, and you fight giant spiders. And so
there are so many spiders in the game.
So many.
Because they're on Dathomir too.
That's right.
You get a whole
the ones
bunch
on
of them.
Dathomir are even worse, I think, because they're smaller and they spit poison. I hate
Those
it.
sound like my kind of spider.
No, they're terrible. They suck so bad. But I really, so when the game starts off, after you leave the first planet, you actually have the option to go to 2 planets, Dathomir and Zepho,
I think it's the other one.
Yeah. Which did you do first?
I went to Dathomir.
I did too.
It was a terrible mistake.
How did that work out for you? Yeah, I was going to say.
So I found if you go there first, the one benefit is that you can find the double-sided lightsaber early.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't know that, but I happened to find it. I was like, sweet. And then it took me so long to get back to the ship because I kept getting killed by everything. You are so underpowered. To deal with anything there. Even to explore, because as you unlock abilities, you open up new areas to explore because you can like jump higher, like latch onto walls
Pull
and stuff. You
too.
couldn't, different things. And you don't have those if you go there first and expects you to. And so it was very difficult. I was very excited about the lightsaber, but the journey home,
it was hard.
It was a little traumatizing.
I think I got to the first part where you like, so you get there and you see Night Sister Marin for the first time.
That's a cool name, by the way.
She's really cool.
She's like one of these, right?
No, I do not have I hope they make a figure of Night Sister Marin because she is badass. And I would love to add her to my collection. But you meet her. She like says, we don't want you here. Basically threatens you if you keep going. And then she sends like the 2 Night Brothers to attack you. And then after that, you get to the save point, and then there's the staircase that had like the 1 melee Night Brother and the 2 archers on it.
Yep.
I got to that part and I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done. This is because they had that charge up shot against you, and it was just it was too early on. So I went back to the ship, was like, nope, let's go to Zepho. I'm not trying to do this right now. But that actually though does bring up one of the small cons that I have with the game, is that it had odd bugs every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like that specific part, there would be sometimes I would respawn at the save point right there, and they'd be on the stairs like they're supposed to be as I started going up them, and they'd come down. Other times I'd go up the stairs, they wouldn't be there until I got to the top of the stairs, and then they just spawned right next to me. And I was like, what? And then they just killed me instantly.
Yeah.
So I ran into that in a couple areas. They released patches later on that made that a little bit better. But I will say that was a slight knock against the game, just that it was just like,
there were some bugs. There were some performance issues.
Yeah.
I know there was one time like I fell through the world. I don't remember exactly where it was. It was
I
one of those
always kinda
infinite
like
fall
those.
situations. Like I broke the game.
and it's like, is it going to actually ever kill me, or am I just in limbo for forever?
Do I have to load from the last spot?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I jump my way out of this?
So I would run into that, and I would also sometimes run into like the music cutting out. Did it ever do that for you?
I never got that. I heard other people experiencing that.
And I first thought, because I was playing it with headphones, at first I was like, oh, maybe it's just like my headphones randomly intermittently losing connection. But then I played it without headphones one time, and it was still doing it, but you could hear every other sound, just not the music. I mean, at the end of the day, not a big thing, but I was also like, it's Star Wars music. I want to hear more of this.
Yeah.
So it's just a small little thing there. What else? Let me see. So it has very Dark Souls in the fact that you do have like the campfire esque things where you can refill your health pods and everything. You can find the more health pods. Like I mentioned earlier, you can upgrade your lightsaber at these workbenches. You can eventually get the dual bladed lightsaber, and then you can also upgrade BD1 to give you more exploration capabilities too. Like you'll find zip lines, and at first you can only go down them, but you'll later find an upgrade that you can start to go up them too, which makes it easier to find some different secrets and stuff like that.
So what all does BD1 do other than look adorable?
Mainly that. But
zip lines?
No, looking adorable.
Looking adorable. Okay.
But no, he does hold your health packs for you. So when you need to heal, you'll like hit the button for it, and Cal will go, BD, I need some help, and he like pops a health canister out the top of him because he rides on your back the whole time.
Oh, okay.
And so he does that. He also is what basically is one of the ways that you can discover the lore of the areas. He'll like randomly hop off your shoulder, scuttle over to an area, and you have to and then you activate a command for him to scan it, and he'll like give you like a little bit of background of like the planet you're on or something like that. So he has like some. Is there anything else that he does I'm forgetting?
I think it's the main ones. That health mechanic thing is one of my favorite mechanics in the game.
It's great.
It's a cool way to heal yourself. You don't just like pop a potion or something. Like your droid chucks you a little stem, and you like stick it in your arm, and you're good to go.
It's like an EpiPen.
Yeah.
Kind of
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
he like
it really
shoots
is.
it out of the top of himself, you catch it, and then you get
That's
some health
pretty
back.
funny.
It's pretty cool.
But it was cool also that could be interrupted though. Like you hit the button to do it, and he could, if you do it at the wrong time and the enemy still hits you, it interrupts the thing. Fortunately though, and I will say that I did like this because at the same time I was playing this game, I was also finishing up Blasphemous. Blasphemous, if you were taking your flask, using a health flask, and you got hit, it still used the health flask. This one it didn't, which I was very appreciative of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have a
I
limited
would've-
supply.
I would have
Yeah.
assumed that if you got interrupted, it would have used and just not, had the effect go through.
Yeah, no, this one it actually like it doesn't use it, which
That's
for
nice.
me I was like, okay, thank you, because that would have been almost too difficult. I feel like at some points.
Yeah. I mean, you unlock, it's one of the unlockables in the world. So you find more of these health stems as you go along, and then BD has like a bigger stash. But at the beginning, you
Does
have
his head
two.
get bigger?
No, that'd be cool though.
That would be fun.
That would have been, but because it's always like, I think you can get. I only got 6. I think I
I
only
know for
found
6.
6. But I want to say there maybe are 10 to 10. Maybe you can find, because I think like I know Kashyyyk has 4 hidden around it. So maybe, yeah. I mean, I'm not totally sure how many you can get, but you can get a lot. But yeah, you're kind of like at some point, BD, what are you doing? Like you're gonna run out of space in your head.
Yeah. That does bring me to like one of the cons I had. It's no fast travel.
No fast travel at all.
We talked about this when I was we were talking earlier, and he mentioned that. I was like, I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Oh my gosh.
I went back to play some of it just to like refresh myself before the podcast. And I remembered that like I had stopped myself from fully completing everything and getting all the unlockables because you're searching these worlds to try to find them. And then you have to spend just as long finding your way back when you're done actually searching for them. So it's not like I could just go look for this thing I missed. I had to go through the whole level, explore the whole thing, and then fight my way back.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks because even in other, comparatively difficult games like Metroid, for example, there's almost always a fast travel option.
And I guess the way they work around it there are like shortcuts you can find, but still, I mean, it's not like in the grand scheme of things, those didn't cut out a ton of travel time.
There's some very big
And you still have to
worlds.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So especially if you did just get through a hard part, you haven't found a lot of health canisters yet, that can very easily take away from the exploration.
To be honest, it didn't really bug me until afterwards and trying to go back. It's like, I've been here. I've done this.
Shouldn't
Just
have
want to
to.
unlock the things.
Because I kind of started exploring on the first planet and like really going around and trying to find it all. But then that's when I was also like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to explore everything first and then drag the story out for forever. I'm going to beat the story so I can actually understand the story as a cohesive unit and not in these small fragments. And so I stopped after that. So I have a lot of like exploring that I want to go back. I want to eventually platinum the game, but it was one of those things too. I was like, okay, I want to get to the story and experience it as it was meant to be experienced, which I'm really glad I did.
The story drags you through it.
Yeah, but you do get a lot of exploration just through doing that.
Yeah.
But I know there are I haven't fought any of the legendary creatures that are the legendary beasts.
Oh, you have to.
They're
good.
I did discover Ogdobogdo. Yeah,
He's the one in the first world, right? The big
Yeah.
frog thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like a three-eyed frog, and he like will you fight smaller versions of them, but then he's like the main legendary because there are 4 legendary creatures, I believe, throughout the worlds. And yeah, he's like a big version of it, but they have like 3 eyes, sharp teeth, and they like still will like stick out their tongue, grab you, and pull you in and bite you and all that stuff. They're hard. Like the first time you fought one, I was like, "What? No, this is bullshit."
That
how
sounds
hard this
terrible.
is. Yeah, they're pretty difficult.
Did you come across the bounty hunters?
Yes. On Dathomir. When I finally went back to Dathomir, I had just defeated the Dathomir boss and walked out of that, and they were waiting for me. They immediately just destroyed me.
They're pretty hard fights.
Yeah. I haven't found them again. And I was wondering, like, oh, wait, where did these guys come from?
Yeah.
And then, so that's kind of cool that there's like this roving boss that they're looking for.
I think there's actually a handful of them.
Oh.
I've killed a few different ones.
Oh, man, that I need to get into this a lot more.
They're all named and have some like backstory and stuff to go with it.
Well, because you got on the ice planet, you went there. Okay, so this is a slight story spoiler here, but this is a cool part that I like that the game threw in a couple of these. So again, slight story spoilers. You're on the ice planet, and then after you retrieve your kyber crystal from there, you get ambushed by that droid, Clank.
Yeah. I don't remember its name, but I remember that fight.
I don't think you're supposed to beat him. You're supposed to be able to beat him then, because then he takes you basically to that smuggler encampment or smuggler ship, and you have to do basically a arena battle, which was super hard.
Yeah, that took me a long time to fight through.
That was like the one time I got actually pissed at the game. I was like, this is bullshit, because you didn't get a save until at the very final. And it wasn't even an actual save. It's just like a soft save where you didn't have to go back and redo the whole fight. But you would go through this gauntlet where you fought all these creatures. You would have to fight a couple of the frog guys. You would have to fight all these different insects and spiders. Then you had to fight like these 2 huge, like a big spider and then one of the other, they're almost Rancor-esque creatures, but like another big like bipedal monster that you had to fight. And then after that, you had to fight this robot Clunk again. And it took so long because there were so many. Like Kyle said, they swarmed all over the place.
Yep.
And it just that was a hard part.
It's one of those things where in this game, all of them are pretty deadly. Any monster you come across, any stormtrooper, they can do you some damage. So I have to go through wave after wave after wave of tons of these. And at that difficulty, you mess up once or twice and you're out of health. And you still have a few waves to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the parts where I was like, I might just go down to normal just to get through this.
Did you ever go down to normal?
No, I made myself stick at it.
I stuck with it, even though the last 2 bosses I almost did because they were so hard. But I'm glad I stuck with it. But yeah, so they did it there on that planet. And that was probably halfway through the game when you ran into that one. And then at the very last planet, you had to do another one inside this Imperial compound, and you only fought Imperials. That part, I feel like I beat it faster, but it was so hard still.
The Imperials were easier in some sort of way. I think it's reflecting blasters and stuff. You can just do more stuff to them.
Right. It's melee combat was much harder.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they made that such a big part of this game. That you didn't have to because especially once you unlock the ability to run and it would auto deflect stuff as you were running, that made it a lot easier to get around some blast or some ranged opponents. But yeah, that fight near the end I especially liked because it did throw in stormtroopers. It did throw in scout troopers, but then you were still having to fight the purge troopers and everything like that, which I thought made it, because then they messed those up. Like you first have to fight the 2 guys with quarterstaff with staves.
Yep.
And those guys are hard because they do
Very
that
hard.
windmill attack and just can knock your health out like nobody's business. But the purge trooper who has the rifle though, I hold is the hardest one.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with you. Him or the one with the giant axe thing.
Oh, that one was hard too.
Don't know why, but that guy really...
Because the axe guy could do the ground pound that knocked you over. But I think the guy with the blaster, because he was very mobile. The purge troopers were great because they were an upgrade from the normal Imperial troops, where that they could dodge your force abilities or resist your force abilities a little bit. They could also just dodge your attacks a lot easier. They were way more mobile and just moved around a lot more. But the one with the blaster, because he was mobile, so even if you deflected shots back at him, he would dodge them.
Yeah, and you couldn't deflect all of his shots back. So it was kind of you have to really pay attention, because if you tried to do it on the wrong one, then you're in trouble.
And because he had that charged attack which would be his unblockable, and it would like stun you. Then he'd run up and like punch you or something with a ridiculous amount of force. And he also would throw this like electroshock grenade that would freeze you and like be shocking you, taking your health away. Then he'd roll out of the way and fire a charge shot, and you're just done.
Oof.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Sounds like a terrible game that no one should play.
It was so much fun. But then, a couple other things that like BD1 can do later on in the game is you can use him to like overcharge, like break, like hack through security doors and stuff like that. But he can also, whenever you fought other droids, if you got them low enough, he could hack them and turn them to your side.
Oh, that's handy.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, especially with the big security droids. That part I liked, especially in that final bit, because at one point 2 of them come out, and I was able to like get them both down and turn them against the Imperials, and that helped. But I still had to do it so many times.
So I didn't realize that the scum link, the unlockable ute that lets him actually hack all this stuff. Has like history, like it's a named thing from early on in some Star Wars canon.
Really? I didn't make that connection.
That they like made back. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know exactly where it's from.
I did not.
But that's from something. I thought that was like a cool little tidbit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Some of the droids seem to have them throughout the Star Wars series.
Well, I know like R2 can like unlock just about everything.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. It's like a specific link that's been named somewhere in the past.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. But yeah, I think the one thing about the story, I think we've kind of talked about mechanics and stuff of it a lot, so we can kind of move into the story and everything for the last little bit here. But I think that was one of the big things that I really did appreciate about the story. So spoiler, we're going to start talking about some spoilers here. Check in the description of both the episode on iTunes and in YouTube. There are chapters. You can skip ahead to the soundtrack spotlight or just our conclusion in general. So there will be chapters for that. I'll be sure to note those so you can skip ahead so you'll know it's safe. But anyway, spoilers start now. So, but one of the things I liked about this a lot was how it embraced the current, kind of like how the sequels have been telling the Star Wars story, where it continued to make the distinction that the Force isn't necessarily a light side and a dark side. There is like this middle. And I think it did that really well, especially in the end, like when they've recovered the holocron, they're all on the ship, and they make the choice. You know, they go and they find this thing. Before I do it, are you okay with spoilers for this game?
Yes, but I'm curious to know who the they is.
Sorry, Cal and the crew, because you meet up with Seer, who you discover is an ex-Jedi, and was actually the master of one of the Inquisitors that you fight in the game, or the main Inquisitor that you fight. Yeah. The second sister is what she's called. Her name is later Trilla, is what you find out her name to be. So Trilla was Seer's Padawan, and during Order 66, they were all captured, brought to this Imperial compound, which is where the end game takes place, and where they were trying to turn them all into Inquisitors and break them just for more information on where Jedi are. Seer resisted and was able to escape, but Trilla was kept and captured, and so that's why so after that, and like Seer gave into the dark side to like destroy. It was a really cool cutscene. She like destroys this area that she's in, but still wasn't able to save Trilla. So she like cuts herself off from the Force completely so that she's not tempted by it again. And so you find out that it's her, the pilot of the ship Grease, who's really funny. I like Grease a lot. Yeah. He's kind of like that.
The comic relief.
Yeah, exactly. The comic relief of the thing. He's like always kind of like antsy and nervous about everything. But you actually like find him plant seeds from all these planets you visit to like grow the onboard terrarium. It's really kind of fun. But yeah, he's always like, this is terrible. We're all gonna die, aren't we? And you're like, yeah, I mean maybe. So, probably a good part of that. And then later on in the game, I haven't got the trophy yet. Apparently there are more people you can recruit. The only extra person I was able to recruit was Night Sister Marin.
Oh, I didn't even get her. I got a little onboard, what do you call it? The fluffy things on the first planet with the ears that come out of the little holes in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Bunnies?
How'd you get that?
It's close to that boss we were talking about earlier, the big three-eyed frog.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I just must not have been able to do that then because I did that. But you didn't get Night Sister Marin.
No, you free it, and then it gets really happy, and it follows you back to your ship.
Oh, that's fun.
And then, yeah, he will like comment like, I hear something clanging around back there. You sure nothing stowed away aboard? Like, maybe.
Maybe something did.
Maybe I brought a pet.
Well, so you didn't get Night Sister Marin?
I don't think so.
Huh. I kind of thought that was an unavoidable one, but I don't remember.
I'll have to go back and check. Oh no, yes, I was thinking of someone
after
else.
you fight the boss.
I was thinking
fight.
you said second, or like one of the sisters from the Order, the
Oh
Inquisitors.
yeah, the ninth or second.
Yeah,
because you only fight the two sisters, the ninth and the second sister.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Marin comes with you.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought, because I was like, wait, I
was
thought,
off.
But yeah, so you do eventually get Night Sister Marin. So all of you together at the end, once you've recovered the holocron and everything, Cal makes the decision to destroy it, because Seer was going to use it to rebuild the Jedi Order. But Cal's like, these people don't know that they're Jedi yet. Why don't we let the Force decide? Basically, let the Force choose their fate if they're going to come into this or not, and not us make the decision for them, which I think is really great, because it continues on that of showing like the error of the old ways of the Jedi and everything like this. So I really appreciated that building of the lore around it and everything.
I didn't think about it that way, but in that context, it's interesting because Luke makes the exact opposite choice in whatever events precede the first of the new Star Wars series.
Right.
He made his own order, and then everyone died because of those choices.
He was such a shitty teacher. Can you imagine?
But yeah, so I like how it incorporates, and obviously since it's Star Wars thing, Disney had their hand in like controlling how the story went. But I liked also too that it was a totally separate Star Wars story, and the fact that you didn't interact with these big main characters.
Yeah.
Well,
except for one,
which we'll get to.
It's so good.
But so you do that, and then I just really appreciated that, how it really did make it its own separate. It was its own thing, its own story. Didn't rely too heavily on pre-established characters. Oh, you did run into Saw Gerrera from Rogue One on Kashyyyk. You ran into him there.
And I guess the Wookiee, the head of the Wookiee.
Tarful or
something like that. He's in quite a bit of things apparently.
Right,
He's a recurring character.
He's a Revenge of the Sith, I know, and all that. But yeah, so
none of the main
people.
Cast.
You're not seeing Luke. You're not seeing Leia, Han, and all that stuff. Although there would have been, I guess, on that like smuggler planet, there could have been a chance to like run into like Lando or something like that, but they didn't do that.
Those people already have enough money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They already have all that stuff.
They're fine.
I fully appreciated that it was an independent story, but I like though that the themes and the underlying things supported what had been established in the sequels and everything like that. So I really liked that. Let's talk about then, before we get to the final big thing. What did you think of all the bosses? I haven't wanted to say like their names and anything like that, just so it wouldn't be given away. Because especially one of the, like, you're going to fight the second sister and she's going to be like the big main boss. But like, what did you think of, for one, the ninth sister when you fought her on Kashyyyk, but then the guy on the main boss on Dathomir, Taron Malicos?
Oh, so good. So the ninth sister, it's like the first real lightsaber fight you get in the game. And that's when I knew I was hooked on the game. Like, I've been playing it, I've been enjoying it, but as soon as that fight came along, I just like time after time trying to get this. And it felt like lightsaber combat. It's everything I wanted lightsaber combat to be. It was like parrying it, trying to mix in the Force when you could. It was so good. And then they just got harder from there.
Oh yeah,
like Taron Malik, you said?
Yeah, Taron Malicos. Yeah.
Oh man, he was
so
tough because he could resist all of your Force abilities because he had a Jedi past.
Yeah, he was like a Jedi who turned dark and embraced the magic of Dathomir.
I thought you were gonna say he had a Jedi pass, and I was like a key card that like enables you to resist.
No, so a little bit of extra Star Wars lore on this one. Dathomir, the Night Sisters and Night Brothers of Dathomir, they use not the Force, but something similar called just magic with a K at the end. Is it magics?
For God's sake.
Basically.
Okay,
so it's not the same. So Taron Malicos, he fled Order 66 when all this happened, and he stumbles upon Dathomir and then like makes a deal with the Night Sisters. They teach him the magic, and he's like, hey, I'll protect you from anybody hunting Jedi and anybody who's going to hunt you. But he ultimately like turns very evil with it and almost starts controlling Dathomir. So that's how Night Sister Marin winds up joining you, is you both kind of jointly defeat Taron Malicos. But my God, that was the first part of the first bosses where I was like, I'm gonna lower it, I'm gonna do it because his, like you said, the Ninth Sister was really great because she was the first battle I felt like you really got to learn how to incorporate the Force with your lightsaber abilities. And how gratifying did it feel when they tried to do a Force push and you had parried at the right moment? So you just got pushed back a little bit, but you had your lightsaber in front of you, and like blocking it, and like the wind and everything's like brushing by you. So gratifying.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of that stuff, but Taron Malicos put all that to like the next level of what you had to do. And I was just sitting there being like, wait, I know how far I am in the game. I am assuming the next boss I'm gonna fight is the second sister Trilla. What the hell is that fight gonna be like?
Yeah. And it was, I thought, that much harder.
Yeah.
I mean, Malicos had some things that were a little more difficult, like his throwing his lightsaber at you. That took me by surprise the first couple times he did it. And chucking all the rocks at you.
The rocks were really hard because I couldn't figure out really how to block those correctly.
No, I think that was the one time you could use the Force to kind of interrupt him and the rocks would break. Other than that, it didn't really work. I saved all the Force for like powering up your lightsaber attacks, and that seemed to take him down faster. But yeah, he was tough. And then the second sister was him on steroids.
She was brutal. I literally think I fought her 3 hours.
Yeah.
More?
I took her in like 3 bouts. I had to take a break.
She was ridiculously hard. And like, and just because that was the one thing, and I know it's a common trait in boss fights, but I like how you would get them down and you would knock their health down and they would unlock new moves.
Oh,
you know, which was very frustrating because again, this game doesn't have saves, like soft saves on mid boss fights or anything like that. So you would have to just like restart and redo it all. And when these fights would take so long,
That's what makes it feel so good to beat at the end. Though. Because like it is true. It's a whole other thing to learn a boss when like you get through the first third of its HP and you're like, all right, I've mastered those moves. And they throw in a whole new slate of things. And you spend the next several rounds of fighting this thing, trying to figure out what those next things are. Then you get down to half health and there's a whole bunch more stuff you got to deal with.
It was ridiculous. What was of her moveset? What was the one that like took you guys and you were like, what is this? Or like didn't have the chance to like.
It's been a while since I've done that fight, so I'm going to have trouble remembering.
So the big ones, I think, if I remember, is like she would do like the big like spinning attack where she would like fly across the room spinning, and that would hurt you a lot. She would then later on, I think her first, when you got like the third of the way down, she would call in one of the probe droids who would shoot at you. But like that was an incredibly frustrating part trying to figure that out because you couldn't get close. Because every time you tried to get close, she would do like this ground pound and send out like this force energy along the ground that would knock you out. The probe droid, but it was timed with when the droid was going to be shooting, so it was very difficult, like figuring out when to parry, when to try to press the attack at all. But you had to like kill the droid before you could do anything. And then past half health was when she would do the force drain one.
That one was rough.
That one
I do remember that one.
That was like, that one's OP. I was like, this one's too powerful. She would basically, what she would do is she would like throw a flash grenade or not, but she would have like this very brief like charge up of it where she would turn red and you knew it was unblockable. She would zoom forward at incredibly fast speed and basically just like drain your life and force out of you.
I've seen movies.
You had to be.
I know what that is.
Yeah. You had to be basically full health. If you weren't full health, she was going to kill you. And like, holy shit, that part was hard.
I also think, I'm trying to remember, she had some jump moves where she would immediately go into a counter attack. And that took me a while because I think all the bosses up until that point had some sort of thing where they jump into the air, slam on the grounds. And when they did, there was a brief window because they'd like have the impact of hitting the ground and you could go in, you could attack them a little bit. But she didn't. She would immediately quickly turn around. She had like a series of counters that would come after that. So every time I was like, I know this game, I'm going to go attack. And then she'd wreck me. So
well, and that's what Terran Malicos did too. There were several of his attacks. You would even parry him.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't guarantee that you were going to get a hit. Because
you had to wait for the whole parry bar to go down or he would counter you like pretty quickly.
Yeah. It was crazy inventive how good these fights would get and how detailed they were and how much you had to pay attention to them. So yeah, the final big story thing that I think we really want to push on, because you know there are great cutscenes and they're great things. Like I really think they did. Like Seer was an incredible character. I really hope that if they make a sequel or a continuation of this, I hope that she is a part of it because she was a great character. I would love to see more of Grease, Night Sister Marin especially too. Like separating a Night Sister from Dathomir, I want to see that. I want to see how that comes into play. Also, all the characters like that were really well done, and even Trilla was a great character.
All of them had depth. Like I was intrigued by all their characters. I felt attached to them in their stories. Like it was a good story.
Terran Malicos was a badass. I hated him because of how difficult he was, but he was awesome too.
Yeah.
But so it really builds to that. But I think where it really all came to a head, because the whole point, you know, obviously you're trying to convert Trilla back. You know, whenever Cal has run-ins with her, or even eventually Seer does have a run-in with her, they're trying to convince her to come back to the light side, and you know, which is a common theme in Star Wars. But you get to her final fight, you beat her. You start talking to her again, and you're like, hey, we can do this. Like, let's, come to us. Cal doesn't kill her. He just like wounds, injures her enough to stop the fight. And
final mistake.
But so here's where I was like, man, it's going to do this thing, isn't it? It's going to do the tried and true Star Wars, not trope, but just like she's going to become good, and everybody's going to be happy and be best friends and move on from this. Was I wrong? Because
like it's so good.
Because there's like this platform starts lowering behind her, and all this smoke and fog starts coming, and you instantly see fear just come across her face. And then you hear the iconic breathing of Darth motherfucking Vader. And it was insanely cool because she doesn't get the chance to turn. She does just say, avenge us, before Vader just straight up kills her for failure. And I was like, well, that turns it on its head. And it was amazing.
It was so good. I didn't have that spoiled for me, thank God, because it made the moment so much better. When he like came down, I was just like, oh, this is about to get real.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna have to fight him.
I did too, and I was like,
so happy we didn't, because
Same.
There've been Star Wars games in the past where you actually fight Vader and like you're supposed to beat him, and that's just
Which
dumb.
is not,
Right.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. He's supposed to be like the most powerful, like Jedi or Force wielder, almost ever, right?
Right.
And so they did that scale of his power so well. Like he comes in and he just wrecks everything, and instantly you have no chance, except to try to run, and even then it's gonna get pretty sketchy.
Which gave a really great part of the game too, when you're escaping him and he's like just destroying this bridge you're trying to run across as you're trying to go across it. So you're like jumping and moving. Again, you had to use all the mechanics and movements and things that you learned from the game and in this one part to get away from it. And again, there are stormtroopers on there who are trying to fight you. So you're trying to run, move the stormtroopers out of your way, do your thing. It was an incredible scene. And then too, you felt the fear, you felt the terror, which I felt was done incredibly well.
So well. That was the best sequence in the entire game.
Absolutely.
And they got it so right, because like it's Vader. He should be that powerful. That's what you keep hearing, right?
Yeah. And
he was like, and everything, it just, you felt it.
Yeah. It was kind of like the final scene of Rogue One, where he just goes ballistic and destroys all those rebels. And it's one of those things that like has gotten better, that technology has allowed us to do better, because that was the thing. You hear all this stuff, especially when the original trilogy came out, and you're like, where he's the most powerful Jedi. You see him fight Luke, and he kicks Luke's ass a few times before Luke finally defeats him.
Right.
But you kind of like heard, oh, he's the most powerful Jedi, but you're also like, okay. Especially as time went on and more things came out Star Wars, and you saw more Star Wars games, you read more Star Wars books, and you were just kind of like, I get Vader's supposed to be a big bad, but Rogue One and the ending of Fallen Order show you how much of a badass he is, and you get to feel how much of a badass and all-powerful Vader is, and it was incredible. And I love that was the final note of the game. You basically just make this last-ditch effort to get away from him. You don't kill him. It's like this underwater facility, and you basically just like flood a tunnel that he's in before he can kill you. And it was this, and also too, because there's an incredibly powerful part for this part, Seer was with you. She was like, okay, if we're going to do this, I'm going to have to help you infiltrate this thing. I'm going to have to open myself up to the Force. So again, it was another powerful moment where Seer almost gave in to the dark side again to be able to defeat Vader. And so it was just this incredible moment of Cal trying to like save them both, save Seer from herself in this moment. And it was, God, it was so good. It was a perfect climax to this game.
So good.
So good. So good. But yeah, other than that, I think that kind of like that basically boils down all the big things. The key points. Anything else that you really wanted to touch on about it or anything?
No, that hits it all. It was just a very good game.
So
did either of you even try to romance Vader?
There was no time.
No.
I mean,
he came in there with the death mission.
Oh yeah, he starts choking you, and I was like, "Choke me harder, Daddy." But then other than that, I was just like, "No, I'm not going to try to do this. There's no options here."
There's always time for romance.
I'm just trying to see. Yeah, I mean, this is one, like, I made a pros cons list. The pros way outweighed the cons. The one thing, though, I think that really makes this game stood out to me, other than all these other things that we've talked about what made it so great. This game, I felt like playing it made me a better gamer. in the sense of understanding what it takes sometimes to beat a game and to understand and be more thoughtful about what I'm doing in the game.
Patience.
It really is.
Yeah.
I think I talked about it in the first impressions when we were talking about this game way back when it first came out. I went into it very much thinking it was going to be like hack and slash, God of War style. Like you run at the enemies, you swing your lightsaber around, you're going to just bust your way through. Not the case. Not the case at all. Like what you were saying, you had to learn the parries. You had to learn the openings. And I think I've noticed post playing it that I have incorporated that and been even in other games that I'm playing, I'm taking the time to think about what actions I'm taking, where to look for explorable areas or other things like that, or other elements that I can use to my advantage, other than just trying to bulldoze my way through, which I feel like I've done for so many other games. So I think that in and of itself sets it apart from a lot of games I've played, and just that I legitimately think it made me play video games better after playing this game.
It does. It coaxes you into being creative, much the same way that Breath of the Wild did.
Yeah.
There's so many times where Jenna would come to me and be like, look at this cool thing you can do. I was like, whoa. You know, like mind's blown. I had no idea. I can't even think to use that tool in that way. It's like wreck some enemies.
Yeah.
And this game was similar in that sense, where it's like, all of a sudden it's just like, maybe I could do this with this force ability. And when it works, you're just like, that was so good.
Yeah.
That was everything I hoped it would be. I'm a genius. Like that's the most creative thing that's ever happened in a game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first
so
time,
good.
The first time I like deflected a rocket from a rocket trooper into like a group of other guys, I was like, yes, I am king. But it's that moment, like what you were saying, when you defeat Terran Malicos, when you defeat the bosses, you feel so damn good that you were able to beat them. You really did.
Yeah.
And I think that above anything else is what made this one of the things that made this game just an incredible experience.
Agreed.
And it did really well. EA came out a few weeks ago and said that it's outsold past what they were expecting it to, which I think is great for, especially since a year or two ago people were like single player games are dead and multiplayer is where it's at. No, single player games are alive and well.
The only people saying that are the developers, because they want to be able to milk you dry for every dollar you have,
which is nice. There's none of that in this game.
Yeah.
Like you have, there are unlockable. Oh yeah, a total thing we forgot. Unlockable cosmetics that you can discover in the game.
That was a cool thing.
Yeah.
It was like really fun. It was engaging to me. I kept wanting to find all the things.
You could find like different ponchos, different outfits for Cal to wear, different skins
those
for BD.
sweet ponchos.
There are some badass ponchos.
There's some really ugly ponchos
There
too.
are some ugly ones, but there are some really cool ones. You can find different skins for BD1. You can even find different skins for your ship, which are really cool too. And then throughout the world too, you find different components and pieces for your lightsaber. So when you find those workbenches, you can go and like mix and match parts from all these different styles of lightsaber, and you can make a pretty sweet weapon. It was pretty cool. So I just liked that there were these unlockable things, but they weren't trapped behind a paywall or anything like that. No microtransactions. No, none of that stuff. You just got what was in the game. The game is what you got. And I think, again, that's a great thing to keep having.
And to be such a good game behind that, I remember thinking that when I bought it, but I haven't thought about it since. That's a really important thing. Yeah. Especially for a game that EA has anything to do with whatsoever.
To feel like you got your money's worth. That's a very valuable thing.
Yeah, by far. It was great. I loved everything about it. If anybody, obviously you're still with us at this point, we're doing nothing but seeing the praises. We've pointed out its flaws, but the flaws are very admissible given how great the overall experience was. And so if you enjoy anything like this at all, you're a Star Wars fan, Dark Souls fan, just like a game with a great story and great combat, check out Jedi Fallen Order because it is A+. So, but I think that pretty much concludes our review of Jedi Fallen Order. If you have any other thoughts, we would love to hear them as well. So send us an email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. Comment below on the video, on social media. Join our Discord. We'd love to talk about it with you there and any other games that you're playing at the time. But before we go, we do have to do our soundtrack spotlight, which we're just going to use the soundtrack of this game. We didn't really talk about it that much, but it's a Star Wars game. You expect Star Wars music. It very much feels very similar to what you would hear in the movies and stuff like that, because the music of Star Wars is iconic in and of itself, and you can't really stray too far from that, without it. And so they kept that. The music for it is all great. They actually haven't released the full soundtrack yet for it, which I'm very upset about and need to. But you still can find the main menu theme, and so that's what we're going to be playing for you today. It is composed by Stephen Barton and Gordy Haab. So listen to that after the close of the episode, which is pretty much now. But Kyle, thanks for coming on. It was a blast to have you on and talk about such a great game.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really enjoyed being here.
Awesome. We enjoyed having you here as well. And of course, thank you, Mogan, for being with us as you are every week.
Farewell. I'll be here next week.
Until next time, everybody, we hope you come back for another great gaming topic. But I'm one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined again by Rachel Mogan
Adios.
and Kyle Strohschein.
See ya.
We'll see you all next time. Stick around for the song.